Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack, and
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and we're on the road to Wrestlemania.
That's right.
So we're being on the road to Wrestlemania. We've already reviewed the first three, but now we're going to be doing a Wrestlemania week until we get to Wrestlemania. So we're at Wrestlemania 4.
Oh boy, I'm telling you, the world is watching.
They did.
They did. And this took place over at the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I mean, great sight. It was a big facility there.
It was. It was crowded. You could tell that they put a lot of people in there. The count of crowd, I don't know if I've ever been able to find a set amount of how many were in there, but 30,000 people.
Yeah, it was pretty packed. I know that. You had Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura on color commentary, occasionally having Bob Uecker out there.
Yes, and Bob Uecker, WWE Hall of Famer, did a great job. They really did a good job of having him kind of be the goofball, which he does very well. For those of you that didn't know a lot about him, he does a self-deprecating humor similar to the man Rodney Dangerfield.
That's right. I get no respect.
And it was a lot of fun to watch Uecker out there doing his backstage segments and calling the match here. And he was even looking forward to this first match being out there, which they had a 20-man battle royal to start off WrestleMania.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this out here, though. The interviewers they had during this was Mean Gene Okerlund, Vanna White, and Bob Uecker, of course. Yeah, I mean, so you had a good, cast out there.
Yes, and it's going back to that Gladys Knight sang America the Beautiful, and she did a really great rendition.
Yeah, she did an A+ job, and I love how when the national anthem goes down, the WWE or F back in those days, they always put on a great production of that. You could tell that it was really taken care of.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Now on to the 20-man battle royal. This was a big deal here because the winner of this was supposed to get a title shot.
Yes, and they had a 6.5-foot trophy out there.
Yeah, take a look at this. It's very beautiful.
And this match was actually not bad for a battle royal. So I'm going to give you who was in this.
Who was there?
The Hart Foundation. That's Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart. We had the Young Stallions in there. Paul Roma, Jim Powers, Sika, part of the Wild Samoans, who was still wrestling at this time. Sika, Dangerous Danny Davis, the Killer Bees, Jumping Jim Brunzell, and B. Brian Blair. Bad News Brown, Sam Houston, the Rougeaus, Jacques and Raymond. Ken Patera, the Outlaw Ron Bass, Junkyard Dog, the Bolsheviks, which at this time was Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov. Hillbilly Jim, Harley Race, and George the Animal Steele.
Yeah, George the Animal Steele was genius on this by standing outside the ring.
Yeah, and he barking at everybody. He was a very entertaining part of this match. But like I said, this battle royal didn't go too long. They didn't have a bunch of people jumping out to get out of the ring immediately. The eliminations were well planned, well timed. And the final four of this came down to Pretty Paul Roma, Bad News Brown, the Junkyard Dog, and Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah, and I mean, Paul Roma got thrown out pretty quickly. It was a lot of a 2-on-1 attack. And it came down to Bad News Brown and Bret Hart. They were going to split it. I remember seeing as a kid thinking they were really going to split it.
This was right at the time when the Hart Foundation was starting to transition into becoming babyface tag teams. You could see Bad News Brown and Bret Hart several times high-fiving. Bad News Brown didn't work with anybody, but they worked together, and they actually did work together to get rid of Junkyard Dog. It wasn't one of those immediate eliminations afterwards. They set it up really well before Bad News Brown gave him the Ghetto Blaster, the kick in the back of the head,
Yes.
and eliminated Bret Hart to win the Battle Royal.
Yeah, and Bret was furious. He broke that trophy like I'd never seen nobody break a trophy before.
And the crowd cheered for it. They really wanted to see Bret Hart get his revenge, which later on down the road in other matches and other stories, he did eventually get his revenge on Bad News Brown.
Yeah, I mean, and Bad News Brown was the winner of this, and like I said, he was supposed to get a title shot. There's conflicting stories I've always heard that, you know, Vince McMahon promised Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen, whatever you want to call him, the world title for a transitional period. Of course, that never went down. But, you know...
Yeah, and this is the one where Hogan started wearing that stupid fist helmet. He started wearing that at house shows. I wish they wouldn't. The less known about that fist helmet, the better.
Yes.
But like I said, this was a good Battle Royal, which Battle Royals either can be really good or really bad. This was a really good one. I did go with 2.5 stars, and I gave it 1 more star over and above just for the banter between Bob Uecker and Jesse Ventura. Our talking about it doesn't do it enough justice. If you didn't like this pay-per-view, just rewatch the Battle Royal for their commentary and their little back-and-forth repartees. It's really worth the time.
Yeah, this was a great pay-per-view in general. But, I mean, moving on down the line, WWF was always known for bringing in stars to WrestleMania, and they brought in another one here. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Robin Leach, came out to read the proclamation here for this tournament.
Yes, and they put over that, and this is true, that this time they were no longer the WWF under Vince Sr., they were now the WWF under Vince Jr., and they really put over that the title had never been vacated before, which is true. For the WWF, there's only 2 champions at this time, or 3 champions, excuse me. The Iron Sheik was a champion, then it went to to Hulk Hogan, and then Andre the Giant. So there was only 3 champions, and then the belt was vacated. So that was a true thing, and they really put a lot of importance behind this tournament, a 14-man tournament, to establish who's going to be the new World Wrestling Federation champion.
Yeah, and in the first round, you had Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase with Virgil and Andre the Giant by his side.
This was a really fun match to start the tournament. Ted DiBiase, one of the greatest technicians in the ring. And these guys brought a lot of chemistry because they feuded in Mid-South back when Ted DiBiase was a good character or a babyface, and Jim Duggan was the bad guy or the heel when he was Dirty Jim Duggan and Maniac Jim Duggan. So these guys had worked each other a lot, and it showed in this match. Good pacing. The crowd was into this match. They had good chemistry. 2.5 stars for a first-round match in a tournament, a title tournament.
Yeah.
A good match to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a good, solid match there. You wanted to have that there, you know, for the first match of this tournament. I mean, it was wild because Duggan was getting ready to set up for a 3-point stance. Of course, Andre grabs his leg, he comes out, and Andre cracks him while DiBiase hits him in the back with his knee.
Yeah, this was our favorite referee who totally missed that.
Yes.
Ah.
And I'm telling you, he's getting my 2 fingers. Jack Kruger. I'm telling you, you'll hear me speak throughout this. He botched that. How do you watch somebody from the outside hit another person that's in the match?
Yeah. Jack Kruger, for those of you that were not familiar with him, he was a jobber in the WWF, kind of similar to what Danny Davis did. He would put people over, put his tights on in a pinch. He wrestled a lot in the CWA, which is Continental. That's Stud Stable. That's, what the hell's his name?
Parker?
Parker.
Yeah.
So he was known, he did a Sheik gimmick. Sheik Muhammad there. And you would think somebody with his amount of experience in the ring, he would know to look away. But instead of just looking away, it was just, I guess I wasn't paying attention.
No, don't worry. We'll get on more on him. But I want to move down the line here. More first-round action. Dino Bravo and Frenchie Martin taking on the magnificent Morocco with superstar Billy Graham.
Morocco in our WrestleMania 3 review had a wrap on his leg, and he was kind of moving around. We thought he was starting to get a lot older. This match, he really was moving around a lot better. So whatever injuries he was he had that were bothering him had seemed to have gone away. And him and Dino Bravo put together a very good, hard-hitting match. I really enjoyed this. I thought these two, another one that they really had good chemistry together. I wish I could have seen more work out of the two of them.
Yeah.
Don Morocco did win by a ref DQ, and I went with 2.25 stars. This was a good match. Another good first-round match for a title tournament. Something you don't always see.
Yeah, 2.75 for me there. I just thought it was funny because Dino pulls the referee in as he gets squashed in between them.
And Morella took that like a trooper.
He did. I mean, he did a great job there as well. I mean, Morocco advanced on there. Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy Hart taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
And this is a little knock on Steamboat. This is not a knock on his wrestling ability. Steamboat always tried to play up the family man, the good guy, the morals, but
he came down with his son.
But he always got mocked for it, and in this case, I'm going to have to agree with the mockers. It felt forced. It didn't. The kid didn't want to be there. Ricky didn't really look like he wanted to be there. And then when his wife Bonnie came down to accept Ricky Jr., you could tell she really didn't want to be there either. I think this is one of those things of they got talked into it and they didn't really want to do it. And I think that happened a lot in Ricky's career, that the family thing was really overplayed and it hurt him in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good match though. I gave it 3 stars. I felt like, you know, the fans were excited. They were popping. This helped build the excitement towards this tournament. Greg the Hammer Valentine ended up winning, pretty much countering the cross body.
Yep. And this was a good hard-hitting, like you said, a good hard-hitting. Like Ted DiBiase and Jim Duggan, very good pacing on this match. They never really slowed down. They always were moving around. They always kept the crowd. And as we've talked about in some of our WCW reviews in the past, this was the big difference between WCW and WWF. WCW liked the slower, the longer matches where there wasn't a lot of action, a lot of movement. This was a prime example of what WWE was doing right in the late 80s. These two guys moving around, keeping the crowd entertained, working different sides of the ring so everybody felt like they were close to the action. Really good match. I also did give it a 3-star rating.
Yeah, I mean, moving along here, the Natural Butch Reed was Slick taking on the Macho Man Randy Savage with Elizabeth.
Butch Reed Butch Reed was had an odd career in wrestling. He was a powerhouse in the Mid-America. He's from Kansas City. Yep. So he in the NWA days in the 70s, really a big name. He comes to the WWF, has some problems with his watch working properly, so he missed several important dates. Then he went to the NWA, WCW, became part of Doom and won a world tag title, but was the lesser remembered member of Doom. And this was right before Doom, and this is back when he still really put on some surprisingly good matches.
You may not have seen this match if he wouldn't have no-showed that show where Ricky Steamboat wanted to drop the title because the Intercontinental Champion was eventually the Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be Butch Reed, but he decided not to show, so now he ended up in this tournament. Savage went over with the victory because they were excited about, you know, Miss Elizabeth out there. They kept saying, oh, I'd take Slick over Elizabeth because Slick would be able to defend you. No, Elizabeth was able to distract you.
Yep, and it was a nice, that we've talked about in some others where a quick win doesn't work. This is one where it did, where it was a quick distraction. Randy Savage got him from behind, dropped the elbow, got the win, and the pacing of it, the crowd was able to understand it and react to it properly. I did give this one 3 stars.
Yeah, I went with you on that, 3 stars. This was definitely a great first round match. I'm going to move on to this one here. One Man Gang. Slick came out again, taking on Bam Bam Bigelow with Sir Oliver Humperdinck.
A forgotten part of World Wrestling Federation is Sir Oliver Humperdinck. He wasn't around for a long time, but Sir Oliver Humperdinck had a long career in wrestling. So if you're not familiar with him, look up when he was a wrestler and look him up as a manager. A lot of his stuff is forgotten by his very short and very uninteresting WWF career. A guy who gets absolutely no respect from the World Wrestling Federation, in my opinion, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, I mean, this guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. We're going to be talking about his career, I'm sure, down later shows. But, I mean, this match wasn't that bad. I mean, it was two big, massive guys here. I mean, to see Bam Bam go for a crossbody at a guy his size was amazing.
Yes, or doing a convincing cartwheel. He was able to, there were times he would do some stuff when he went over to ECW with the Triangle of Terror, where he was doing some moonsaults. So a 400-pound man, Vader wasn't the only guy doing moonsaults at 400 pounds. My only problem with this match was the ending was very, very confusing. It was one of those of everybody's outside the ring and all of a sudden the referee calls for the bell and declares one-man gang the winner because of a countout.
Right, you're supposed to let your guy in. He's sitting there steady pounding in front of the referee. I'm like, ref, back him up, Again, more genius out of Jack Kruger there.
Yeah, I only gave this match 1.5 stars, and mostly because, again, the referee really hurt this match. It's not any disrespect to either of the guys in the ring. They did the best they could with what they had. The referee really got in the way of this one, and I think even might have cut it a little bit short just because he didn't know how to call the proper ending.
Yeah, I mean, I put it at 2 stars. I mean, I felt like it was just great to see a big man move in action, but the referee really killed this.
Yes.
Next here, the final match here, Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby the Brain Heenan taking on Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yes, this again was the last match of the first round of this title tournament. So Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant had gotten a bye into the second round, so they had 14 people. This was the last of that first round. And kayfabe word of the day, we're going to be talking about this match, a Broadway. A Broadway in wrestling terminology is a match that goes to the time limits. And this match did. It went to the time limit.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching Jake, and I did enjoy watching Rick Rude. This is pre-Cheryl Roberts, where they had their feud over Rick Rude hitting on Jake Roberts' wife. So this is before all of that.
Yep.
But I think the biggest thing they put over was that the first rounds were 15, second was 20, then 30, then no. They should have put this at 10 minutes. If you're going to have a Broadway match, they should have made all the matches 10 minutes. You could tell at about 3 or 4 minutes left of this match, they were like, you could tell they really didn't know what to still do to try and keep the crowd entertained. Although they did a very good job, but the last few minutes before they went into the finish, you could kind of tell they really were kind of, man, what do we got to do next? Man, is the time to go home yet? So I did only give this match 2.5 stars, but the action was very good.
Yeah, I went 2 on this. This just didn't, it fell flat. The best part, I think, was when Jake came out with his snake and he chased Rude away. I mean, it was a solid match, but just, it fell flat.
It fell flat, and I think Rick Rude by that time was kind of bored because Rick Rude had sold in the beginning that he was scared of the snake, and then when Jake came after him with the snake, he just kept getting out of the ring, and he looked at Jake, and you could read the words on his lips, "I'm not playing," and kept on walking.
Yeah, moving on here, the Ultimate Warrior making his debut at WrestleMania, taking on Hercules with Bobby Heenan.
The bane of our existence, Hercules, you get the You Smell Award. I don't know how you keep appearing on our show.
Multi-time winner.
This match, the crowd liked this match, and I don't know why. The crowd liked it, and it was just a botch fest. I think the only thing that worked was their first tie-up.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything about this match was slop. The Ultimate Warrior coming down the rampway almost tripped twice.
Yeah, he stumbled.
and Hercules, when Hercules is the more in control of this match, there's a problem. And Warrior went over. I don't remember why. I don't remember how. I don't care. 1.25 stars.
Yeah, it led up to everything being flat. That's what really killed it here. Because right after this match, they took a 30-minute intermission. Something they didn't normally do in pay-per-views nowadays. They did it then. And, it was needed because, man, you could see the fans, they were just on it.
That may have explained why this match was here, because for those people who couldn't quite hold it or wanted to get over there and get a hot dog and popcorn first, they had a reason to.
Yeah, this match, yeah, I gave it 2 stars. Warrior was the belly to back suplex there, and the Warrior raised his shoulder up.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that's right. The stupid, they're both laying there with their shoulders, and one guy rolls his shoulder. Ugh.
Yeah, it was not that good. Thank God, I'm telling you, the rest of this card here. Hogan versus Andre with Ted DiBiase and Virgil in his corner in the second round.
Now, in the WWF, Hogan and Andre wrestled each other 3 times. The first one was WrestleMania 3. The second one was what caused this pay-per-view to be the way it was the famous February 5th, 1988, with the Earl Hebner and Dave Hebner controversy.
The main event!
That's what it was called, but that's where Hebner, Dave was counting the pin, Hogan's shoulder was up, and then we find out there was Dave Hebner and Earl Hebner. This is the first time both of them were seen together on television.
Yeah, and this match here did not disappoint, in my opinion. The fans were into this. Hogan came down in the beginning. Andre started his attacks, but of course it went back and forth very well.
Yeah, this was their last match of the 3 times they would wrestle. And as he is right, this is the best of their 3 matches. They went about 6.5, 7 minutes. The crowd was really into this match. The crowd wanted to see Hogan vanquish Andre. Hogan ended up vanquishing Virgil with a really awful looking suplex.
Yeah, no liberties there were taken. No.
Too much after is my only knock on this match. I went 2 3/4 stars. Now I did rate the WrestleMania 3 match much higher, but that was because of historical. This one, straight match. This was their best match, 2 3/4 star. The only problem was coming out of the 30-minute long intermission, Hogan spent another 7 minutes in the ring posing.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it 3.5 because of the double chair shots. I mean, when you listen to Andre hit Hogan, you hear that steel, that ching. Yeah, that was wow. I mean, I really loved this match. Double disqualification, both were eliminated, and it gets revealed later that it was a part of Andre's plan and Ted DiBiase's plan just to get out Hogan.
Yes, and that was coming up later. That was a very fun interview segment as well.
Yeah, choking out Bob Uecker.
Yes,
that was funny. Yeah, next match here: Randy Savage against Greg the Hammer Valentine. Actually, I missed one. Excuse me.
You forgot Ted.
Yeah, Ted
Ted
DiBiase,
Don.
Don Rock Morocco. Excuse me, second round. Yeah, with superstar Billy Graham in the corner.
Yeah, this was a fun match. This is the one where Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon had their argument about the external occipital protuberance.
What is that?
Well, we know what it is, and I know specifically what it is because I've heard the man who graduated from Gorilla Monsoon University of Medicine.
That's right.
Talking about it ad nauseum. Between the external occipital protuberance, the kisser, and the solar plexus, I know all about the human body.
Don't forget the Boilermaker.
So now that I've poked fun at this guy, it was a good match.
It was.
I can't believe you wanted to forget it. Ted and Don Morocco, great match. I really enjoyed it. 2 3/4 stars. The crowd was a little flat, unfortunately, I think because of Hogan posing so long, that they were up for so long. You could only be up for so long before you need to be down. So I think the crowd was a little down on this match. But it was a very good, decent back and forth match. I did give it 2 3/4.
Yeah, I went 3 stars on it. I felt like this was a very solid match. I loved how DiBiase used the stun gun at the end to get this victory.
Yes. It was a really good, solid match.
Yeah, and Jimmy Graham out there threatening to hit him with the cane. That was just funny to me.
Billy Graham.
Yeah, that's right. Superstar. Yep, and you had, moving on here, Randy Macho Man Savage, Greg the Hammer Valentine.
This was a good, solid, really solid match. And one of my notes here is that one of the things I noticed, they didn't have a Monday night show or a Thursday night or Friday night show. SmackDown has bounced around over the years on where it lands. This would have been a match that could have main evented a Raw or a SmackDown if those were on at that time. This was a really good, solid match.
Yes.
Randy Savage, Greg Valentine, good back and forth, good selling, good storytelling in this match. I did go 3.25 stars. This was my match of the tournament.
Yeah.
So far. My match of the tournament.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I felt like they were setting the table on this to see who was going to become champion. This match was great. Greg the Hammer Valentine, of course, setting up his figure 4, and Macho Man countered with a small package. It was a nice potluck victory.
Yes, it was, but they really put over the two guys using elbow drops. They really put over the story that they're both hard-hitting guys. They're both very intense. Really, another match. For those of you young fans that are looking for a way to tell story and psychology, check this match out. You'll get a good lesson in psychology.
And trust me, they were to a T because Macho Man, of course, changed outfits, and so did Elizabeth.
Yes.
Every time they came down this rampway, he advanced on. And then they had the Intercontinental title match, the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart and Peggy Sue taking on Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
Yeah, this match has 2 musicians in there. For those of you who are not familiar with the woman jumping around in the blonde wig, that was Sherry Martel.
That's right.
And Sherry Martel has sang on 2 entrance themes for famous people. She was sang a little bit in the Honky Tonk Man, and she was the singer in Sexy Boy when she managed Shawn Michaels. We've also got one other musician here, Jimmy Hart. The Mouth of the South was a member of the group The Gentrys, which down the road when Honky Tonk Man, when he came out holding up a gold album saying Honky Tonk Man's a song gone gold, that was his album. That was his gold record from the Gentrys. So there's already 2 musicians in this. Plus, I think Honky Tonk Man was actually a good musician, good entertainer. This was a lot of fun. I'm not a big Beefcake fan. I really did not like I should say the Brutus the Barber. I liked him as part of the Dream Team. I did not like him as Brutus the Barber. And they did give Jimmy Hart a haircut. But in all, the match was decent. They're not great technicians, but they're great entertainers. I did give it 3 stars.
Yeah, I went 3.25. I love this match because, you know, towards the end, I mean, Beefcake is celebrating like he's won this match, but the referee's knocked out. And, you know, he's sitting there cutting Jimmy's hair right on the steps. And thank God for Peggy Sue. She went over there and took that big thing of ice water and threw it right on Honky and got him away before he got his hair cut.
Yes, and I liked that when they had Joey Morella took a megaphone shot to the back of the head, he didn't move. For the rest of that, the other referees came down and carried him off. So now I know he wasn't injured because there's been some reports that he wasn't injured. He was just a good seller. So kudos to Joey Morella for really selling that megaphone shot and making it mean something to the end of this match.
Yeah, I mean, again, referees are important too, and you can tell it when Joey Morella is refereeing your match. And now moving on here. The Islanders with Bobby the Brain Heenan, a 6-man tag taking on the Bulldogs and Coco Beware. My Quack attack! Here is Bobby the Brain Heenan. What a genius move to be wearing this right here. I'm telling you, he was afeared of Matilda and he wore it out there to the ring.
Yes, and the backstory was Matilda had been kidnapped or dog-napped, and she had just recently returned, and the story is that Bobby Heenan was behind it. So he came out there in a full dog suit. It was a legitimate, real dog suit with the black pants with the quilt padding and the canvas jacket with the buckles on it. He was carrying an extra 20 pounds in this match. And I want to also give it up. A lot of managers are people who just don't have it in wrestling. Bobby Heenan is not that. When he managed Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens, a lot of times he was out there wrestling too. Bobby Heenan was not a horrible worker by any stretch of the imagination inside the ring. And it showed here. He did a really good job.
Yeah, and he even got the victory in this match, pinning Coco Beware. That right there should tell you everything about both of these people.
Yeah, and this match was decent and I enjoyed it, but this match really felt like it was not a big part of the story. This was more of pushing the story along than it was a big selling point in this storyline. So, well, I did go with 2.5 stars on that. I really felt that this overall package of this match was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I'll go with that. About 2.5. But I mean, it helped out. You know, it gave them time to take a breather between the quarterfinals and the semifinals. So I felt like this match was needed.
Very true. That is a very true statement right there.
Yeah, I mean, and moving on here, they had Ted DiBiase getting his bye and going to the finals. They did that. But then you had Randy Macho Man Savage going against the one-man gang with Slick.
And this had your favorite referee in there who finally got something right, sort of.
Yeah, he tried.
All right, Randy Savage went over this match by DQ. This was a very, very short match. Understandable, it kind of needed to be. This match was this pay-per-view went 3.5 hours.
I think the gang worked a total of 15 minutes during this whole show.
Total, and that 3.5 hours was just on the network. That doesn't include the 30-minute in-between intermission. So this needed to be a little bit shorter because they kind of had to move things along. The problem was when the one-man gang got a hold of Slick's cane, he's trying to hit Savage like 4 or 5 times before the referee finally turned around and saw it to call for the disqualification. So this match really made no sense except for the fact that it had to be there because it was part of the tournament. They could have done a lot of other things with this. They could have had a count out, would have made a whole lot more sense of a knee to the back, the gang goes out and just can't make it back in the ring in time, would have made a whole lot more sense than this disqualification ending. This is my low card match of the tournament. I 1.25 stars.
Yeah, I went 2. I thought that, you know, it had the significance of what happened. Plus, when Macho hit the gang into Slick there from the top with a double axe handle and splashed him, it was funny. That part really lit me up there.
Okay, so I'll raise it to 1.5 because that was a good part of it, and it was something the crowd did want to see. They want to see Slick get taken care of.
Yeah, and they were very happy. Macho Man advanced on. And then you had the match before the main here. Tag team titles. Demolition against Strike Force. Mr. Fuji in the corner, by the way.
Yeah, Strike Force is Rick Martel and Tito Santana. The Can-Am Connection was the previous tag team. Tom Zenk had left and Rick Martel had come in to be the tag team. They, instead of calling themselves another version of the Can-Am Connection, or Mexican as was joked about,
Yeah.
they smartly did not go with that name, by the way.
Yeah, thank God.
And they went with Strike Force. And Strike Force were the tag team champions coming into this match. And this match was a really solid match. The match was good back and forth. A good surprise, kind of out of nowhere win for Demolition. And this match was historically significant for Demolition because until the New Day broke it, this was the start of the Demolition reign that became, for 20-some years, the longest tag team title reign in WWF, WWE history. So this win was very, very important in the history of Demolition and history of the World Wrestling Federation.
And of course, they didn't go over clean. They went over dirty. They took that cane and they hit Martel in the back of the head with it.
Something fierce. I mean, and Martel sold it well, like he was totally knocked out. He may legitimately had been because he didn't move afterwards. But all in all, a really solid match.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5. I felt like it was a good setup for the main event.
And I went with 3 on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, thought it was really well, and I'm glad they did that. Next match here, the main event, the finals of the tournament here. You had Bob Uecker out there announcing, and Vanna White getting shown to the crowd as the guest timekeeper.
Yes, and Robin Leach came out holding the belt on a satin pillow. He came over and showed it to Donald Trump, who was in the crowd here today. All in all, you could feel the importance of this night, and this was the first real big reveal of what became known as the Eagle Heavyweight title. They did have it before this at the main event, but it was really told that it was Andre's belt created specifically for him. and now they brought it out, and it was going to be the new title belt going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this was a grade A match here. I mean, you had Hogan coming down later in this, being on Macho Man's side, because Andre the Giant kept interfering in the match.
Yes, and the crowd really, you could tell, expected this. The crowd kind of, there was one time right at the beginning of the match, you could see all the crowd looking up the way to the rampway, looking to see when Hogan was going to come out. So it was really obvious that was going to happen. But all in all, it still didn't distract from the match. This still was a good 3.5-star match.
Yeah, I mean, Savage ended up winning. Hogan took the chair to the back and knocked him out there. Savage became the world champion. As you see in the nice photo there, they had, Savage had Miss Elizabeth on his shoulder. He was really just excited.
And I'm going to give some props to Hulk Hogan. He let Randy Savage enjoy his moment. Hogan has been talked about throughout wrestling history of stealing the spotlight. This time he didn't. He didn't do his posing. He just kind of stepped back, applauded, let Randy Savage have his moment. So good job, Hulk Hogan, as well.
Yeah, 3.5 stars on that. But tell you what, get ready for the next video, because that's where you're going to see the Mega Power explode.
Yes, WrestleMania 5 is coming up next. We're going to be talking about a very, very good pay-per-view that at least in my memories. I didn't remember this one being that great. This was a lot better than what I remembered. So we're going to find out if my memory's good for WrestleMania 5, because I remember it being pretty decent.
That's right. Make sure you follow us here on YouTube here. Like, share, subscribe to our channel. I'm Dr. Quack.
I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, reminding you, keep following us, keep liking, sharing, and subscribing, because I need a pay raise.
And I'm out.